He said, no doubt we'll do.
Hi, can you guys hear me? Hi, can anyone hear me? You can't hear me? Hello?
So it says upcoming.
Hi, I just want to ask if anyone can hear me. Oh, okay, great. Thank you. Happy Tuesday. I hope everyone is having a great start to the week and a nice evening. I want to thank you all for supporting me and taking time out of your busy and your personal lives this evening. I recognize that you could be doing a number of different things, and yet you're here with me to discuss this important and ongoing issue, which really is and does have multiple layers to it, despite what a lot of people some people may think. And so I do appreciate you being here, and that is great. Eating cheeselets in bed. Okay, from the UK. That must be a special snack that you have here there, because I don't think that we have cheeselets here. So, hello from Oklahoma. Hi, nice to see you. Um, Hello everyone as you're coming in. Um, so kind of as we're waiting for more folks to join us, oh, hello from Ohio and Maine. Kind of while we're waiting for everyone to join us, I wanted to ask the question. So, it's been about 48 hours, a little bit over 48 hours since we saw and the world saw, and what felt like a bombshell was dropped when the information that Kyle did get married to Britt, and she shared that information on her Instagram. And ever since then, the different social media platforms that I have looked over, everything from YouTube to Facebook to Reddit and everything, there has been much talk about this issue. And most of it has been, um, they would, Kyle and Britt would probably see as negative feedback. And so we have had a lot of comments to look over and much to consider in the last 2 days. Now, I wanted to kind of do another live because even though our last one went 2 hours, and I want to thank you for all of you that joined that. I appreciate your support and joining me for that or watching afterwards. Thank you for watching on replay. But I felt like, there's still so much to dissect from this story in relation to their specific marriage now. And of course, the story itself, there are still some angles that need to be covered that I think are actually really important as we seek to understand, really to the best of our knowledge as viewers and as subscribers, what has been going on and what are the implications of that, and is there any lessons to be learned as we in the future will be looking at other people, and other situations will be presented to us, and are there red flags that we should be able to identify? Are there things that should um, do, like, make our spidey senses go off? Um, so let me just kind of go through some of the comments here. Hello from Southern California, where Jenny's from. That's really nice. Hi from Canada. And someone said, I bet they are out celebrating Cinco de Mayo. If you think the pizza indulging was fun, wait for the next celebration bash. Yeah, we're gonna have to talk about that notorious picture. It's just, when I first saw it, I was so shocked that that was like a legitimate wedding photo, because it looks like something that maybe someone, after they had went to a bar, would go out to pizza and just like slop a piece of pizza in their face. And the fact that they were in wedding attire, it was quite shocking to me. How did everyone feel about that picture? Is that something that you would have chosen to announce your wedding and that it had taken place? That picture, we have a commenter saying that picture was disgustingly disrespectful to Jenny and her kids, and it was inappropriate. The picture was not good. I felt sick. It lacked class. And these are the comments that I've seen about the picture online too. I haven't seen like one. In fact, I don't think I've seen one comment in the positive in relation to any of the pictures, any of the wedding pictures. Kyle was wearing tennis shoes. His ring looked ill-fitted, like it was really tight on his finger. I've seen comments about that. I saw comments about, the slit going up Brit's dress and how inappropriate that is. Um, it was it was quite the photo set. So, yeah, the tongue being out, it was quite a lot, and, it just yeah. Hello, everyone who are just coming in. It was not very classy, that's correct. Yes, it lacked class, yeah. So, I was reflecting today about everything that's been done over the last couple months, especially since, Kyle announced that he had found someone and he was moving on, and he was ever since his engagement photos have come out, and there's been this, as you know, this massive just people up in arms, smoke coming out of people's ears. I mean, it was like a cartoon character, eyes popping out, eyes rolling back into the heads. I mean, people have been really upset that, not that he's moving on necessarily, although the timing of that has been an issue, and we'll get into that. But mostly because, as you know, he posted this relationship on Jenny's page, which so many of us have viewed as so disrespectful, as bearing her legacy, as bearing her voice, and the implications of that on, her children seeing that in the future and having to go through all these other relationship type videos that buried it, and the cancer community not getting that straight line to the voice that they need to continue to be encouraged in their own fight, and then also their family members from an education perspective. And so I was thinking about all of this stuff and how we got here and all of the feedback and all of the silence and him not acknowledging any of the feedback, in a kind way to say it, of which a lot of the feedback has been openly hostile, as you know, especially on forums like Reddit. But even on YouTube, it's gotten quite hostile at a point. And just no response to that. And I was thinking to myself, man, like I cannot imagine someone taking hold of this legacy space where Jenny had worked really hard to, and she didn't have to. I mean, because she was so naturally friendly and optimistic and hopeful for her future, and so strong and so loving towards her children and community. So people were just drawn to her like a magnet. And so she had built, though, this community and of 200,000 plus people, and it was near and dear to her. And these people in turn, she had them come into her cancer journey. She had them come into the private moments of the bed, and when she was facing uncertainties of different medical options and treatments, and then when those treatments would backfire with bad side effects and things, and how she suffered and how she wanted to be there for her children, and just everything that was so like special, and everything that felt so intimate, to take that space, and then to take those us subscribers who have been there that whole time, and who have been offering prayers and have been offering support, and who had been offered and given financially, and given of our time, and given of our our good wishes, I was thinking that the worst possible thing that someone could do to those group of people, to Jenny's core supporters, would be to post a wedding video in that same space. I was thinking that there wasn't anything else that could for him to go on and post a wedding video on her page. And so I've been kind of the last 2 days, I've been dreading seeing that pop up as a notification because I thought to myself, like, in my mind, I think, like, "You better not. Like, I know you are not gonna do this. Like, I know that you are not gonna have the audacity." It's one thing to ignore people. It's one thing to not respond to their questions. It's one thing to continue on with your life and put it on there, but then to upload a video when people have been so vocal against him being in that space, but to upload, like, a wedding onto that space, even where Jenny's own wedding video isn't on, it would be absolutely appalling to me personally as a viewer. Absolutely appalling. I can't think of something worse that he could do. I'm just gonna take a moment to see, what comments here are coming through. I apologize for that kind of long rant. Um, let's see here. A commenter said it shows the rush in their relationship versus the maturity of the previous marriage. Although I don't agree with people shaming her for her clothes. Everyone has a style. Yes, and I can completely understand that as well. And I really, one thing that I have tried to work on is not doing personal attacks so much, but looking at the patterns, looking at, but sometimes there's themes and comments that kinda just you continue to see them over and over and over, so you end up reporting on those because that's how people are really feeling. Um, let's see here. You agree about not shaming about clothes. And yes, Kyle does have his own channel. Someone said that Kyle has his own channel. That is correct. And I wanted to also state from everything that I could tell, that channel is monetized. I think it has over 40,000 subscribers. It is monetized. And what that means is that it does have the capacity. He does have the capacity to use that page to earn his income off of. He doesn't have to use Jenny's page, and that's what I was trying to make so clear in my last video. Like, every single time that he decides to, it is a conscious decision. It is a deliberate decision that he makes to upload. So imagine if he somehow, like, it got through to him that maybe this really isn't the right thing, and I refuse to disrespect my followers and Jenny's followers who have been there for me, who have been there for us at our worst time, and I'm going to actually take my new wedding video, which I know there is no way that he cannot know how most people feel about this, and I'm going to put it on my own page, and I'm going to have this to be the start of something new on my own page. But I have 0 confidence in that happening, and I'm wondering how you guys all feel. Do you feel like there's any possibility that he would ever even consider putting his new marriage video on his own personal channel as a new trajectory point? Someone said Jenny was everything Britt never could be, and it's disappointing to even have to ask what's left for her babies now that she's gone. Someone else said, and that is my whole problem with him using her page. I don't care what he does with his life. I cannot stand him, but get off her page, And I think that's what a lot of people feel. It's like, maybe some people like him for who he is, and that's great. Everyone's entitled to their own opinion. Some people don't, but I think the key is not intermixing, not putting on Jenny's Sacred Legacy page another woman and how perfect she is and how wonderful your new life is and how you're so excited about everything. And meanwhile, what about the message that Jenny wanted to leave for her children and her community? Let's see here. It could happen. It wouldn't be a shock to me anymore. Yeah. And then, someone said, "Jenny was worried about being forgotten. I guess she knew the real Kyle." I mean, you do that was a good point. I've seen that in other comments too. It's like, I don't I mean, I think people want to be remembered when they're gone. I think that's a human feeling that probably most people feel. They want to be remembered, at least amongst their family and friends. But feeling the unique feeling of feeling like you might not be remembered, I'm not so sure that everyone feels that way, because I think people usually have a sense of confidence in who they're with, especially their spouse, to feel like, with especially with their children, he or she will, share the wonderful person I was, or the things that deeply mattered to me, or, what I enjoyed, etc. Someone said what really got under my skin was a few videos ago. He was praising the new woman, how great she is for the kids, and then referred to Jenny as the kid's mother. I saw other comments about that too, because yeah, that was really sad. It's sad just to see her designated just to a title, especially when he spends like 2 years grieving over her, and then even includes grief videos amongst discussions of the new relationships. It's actually insane. They went to a creek last week. I think that was their way of honoring Jenny before the wedding. I'm not exactly sure about the purpose of that. I mean, I guess that could be the case, although I would think that they would have wanted to make that connection more known if that was the actual purpose. Um, Someone said, "I just want Jenny's channel to be safe for cancer survivors and for the kids." And then someone else said, "Kyle's having a midlife crisis at the expense of those kids." And we are going to talk a little bit about psychology today. I'm not a psychologist. That's not my education field of education, nor my job position, obviously. But there are some patterns that may align that I think are worthy of discussion. So we'll look at those. Um, he really moved on fast. And someone else said, "I think he loves to be in love." And I think I've seen that comment too, just the idea that he loves to be in love with someone, he loves to be in a relationship. I've seen that as well. So, I'm gonna be so guys, one thing that I've always found to be important to me, like personally when I'm discussing things, and I come just so you know, I come from a background, my background, educational background was in political science. I ended up doing work in the nonprofit field to support children and families who are in poverty. I'm not working right now because, like I said, I have some heart and health issues. But I've always believed in the power and an importance of research. I have a lot of information that I've gone through, like, and piled through, and lots of reports that I've generated. And I really have taken a deep dive into these things and used my highlighters and different things because I want to give you guys real information that is credible and that is important and that can help you to make your own decisions about what is going on in this case and to look at patterns in future cases. And I know that you guys appreciate that. And so just I want to thank you for being here. And quickly, if you want to support my work, and there's no pressure at all, you just being here is really what's important to me, and the story and getting it out there is really what's important to me. But I do have a super chat option if you would like to contribute anything small, anything, it doesn't matter. But I appreciate your support, and I just want you to know that that is available to you. So I do want to get into some of the reactions that we have seen in the last 2 days because, like I said, they have been really strong against the wedding and even openly hostile in some cases and on some platforms. I could be a detective. I actually wanted to be a prosecutor initially for criminal cases, but life had other plans when I had my son young. But that's okay. I think standing up for people who don't have a voice is important. And that's where my heart is. And that's why I'm here and trying to bring light to what's been happening here. Okay, so I kind of wanted to talk about some of the reactions that I've seen because, like I said, there's been a massive polarization. So, excuse me while I look down just for a couple minutes because I want to share with you exactly what I've seen, and I want to make sure that I present that factually to you so that you could have confidence in what I'm sharing with you. So, while a small segment of loyal followers have maintained a quote, happiness for the children stance, the prevailing sentiment across unmoderated platforms is one of profound disillusionment. The core of the backlash stems from a perceived betrayal of the eternal love brand established during the late Jenny Appleford cancer journey by Kyle. Data suggests that the audience transition from sympathy-based support to accountability-based scrutiny is now complete, with the marriage acting as the final catalyst for mass subscriber disengagement. So I'm not exactly sure what Kyle thought or his new fiance thought was going to happen when they released this information that they were married. Perhaps they thought they might get more support. I'm unsure why they would think that, considering they really haven't had much support. It definitely hasn't been the prevailing opinion that people support what they are in their relationship based on the comments alone, just based on looking at comments alone. So I'm not sure what he expected when he and her, I guess, put out that information, and certainly perhaps that's something that he actually doesn't care about based on the fact that he doesn't respond to comments. So maybe it's just to put out, and maybe it doesn't matter what people think. So here's a comment. He is so easily swayed. He must have been a follower in his teen years. He also is a hopeless romantic. Being in love is everything to him. Yeah. If he did this completely different and announced it, then moved on to his channel, none of this would be happening. I completely agree with you. And that's what's really interesting to me too. So if you think about it, the fact that he has so he put this out there. I mean, in all fairness, he didn't know initially what was going to. He couldn't have known. He could have guessed, but he couldn't have really known what was going to happen when he put out his new relationship and his proposal. But he learned, and I'm sure very quickly, that this is not what his audience wanted, that people came for Jenny, were there for Jenny. They wanted to hear about Jenny and her children by extension, and that's why they were here. And so when there was, and it was way more than a mission creep. A mission creep is just kind of getting away from the original intention of a page. This was a complete page takeover. And they're really, I mean, to be honest, it was just completely changed at that point. And Jenny, unfortunately and sadly, ended up being, this page wasn't about her anymore. And so let's see here. I do want to talk about I do want to talk this evening about the number of subscriptions that have increased on the Apple's channel page. And I will get back to that this evening as we continue on. Just know that I do want to cover that. Someone said, I don't like the idea that he had a life with Jenny on her channel and now piggybacking off of his wife's cancer journey and her death. Yeah. Yeah. So someone said Britt knows that Jenny was vegan, and so that was so important to her and her legacy. Her consuming meat lovers pizza right after the wedding was a middle finger to beautiful Jenny. And how does Kyle not see this? So as I shared before, one of Jenny's family members did tell me explicitly that their wedding, which she had with her sister, and I shared the picture of that today in my announcement post saying that I was going live, that wedding was vegan completely. And that's how important it was to her that she wanted all of her guests to, enjoy vegan food. And she also did attend vegan related events. Like, it was part of her identity. And so I did notice that too. And it's interesting the children weren't in the picture, so it's hard to know if they were there or not, but that's not, I mean, realistically, that's most likely not a vegan pizza location that they went to. So, um, life, let's see here. It's the most bizarre thing I've ever seen. And he just keeps talking about how wonderful everything is, like he's trying to convince himself he needs help in a way I feel like he knows. Yeah. A lot of people saying that when he's speaking, it sounds like he's trying to convince himself that he's making the right decision and trying to almost like self-justify petition around how everything is wonderful, everything is perfect, everything is going great. But we all know that's not the reality of life. And he, above anyone, should know that. I mean, look at this terrible journey that he's had to go over in the last few years with Jenny. So going back to the feedback on social media. So I wanted I did analyze the feedback from a couple different social media sites, and he has the most support on YouTube, but it looks like he does because there is a great level of moderation that happens on YouTube, as you know. So a lot of people have reported that they have been blocked, their comments have been deleted. You guys have told me that. You guys have said that in the last live. So a lot of people's comments are being completely erased. But with YouTube, it's my research shows that 45% of the people are supportive and 40% are opposed, and 15% are neutral and skeptical. On Reddit, only 2% of people support him. 94% of people do not support the marriage, and 4% are skeptical or neutral. On Instagram, only 25% of people on Instagram are supportive. 60% are opposed or critical, and 15% are neutral. On Facebook, which we know, if you weren't able to join the last live, or if you were not also able to watch the replay, I wanted to explain again that Kyle did take over Jenny's personal Facebook account that she personally had to connect with her friends and family. So every video, as far as I have seen, that you see posted from him on YouTube, he goes on and posts on her Facebook as well. So her friends and family are seeing that there, if they're still subscribed, where he talks about all the same kind of stuff, the perfect relationship, etc. And I haven't been able to verify, but I speculate that that Facebook account is probably monetized as well. Um, so I wanted to go ahead and talk about what are the core issues that we're seeing in the comments. What are people actually saying is upsetting to them? So, followers who invested emotionally in Jenny's journey feel a narrative whiplash. Kyle's previous branding of Jenny as his quote, one true soulmate is being weaponized against him now. Um, Critics highlight that the timeline between November 2023, when Jenny passed away, to May 2026 marriage as evidence that the grief presented on camera was performative or that the replacement was pre-planned. So, I mean, very, very critical comments coming through. Also, and this is key too, the transition from grieving widower to blissful groom happened faster than the audience's own grieving process for Jenny. So there was a mismatch in the timeline between, him moving on, which it felt very quick, and viewers who were still grieving Jenny. And honestly, his grief period that he documented was quite long himself on there. So a great mismatch there. Another issue, the legacy or erasure, as you know, it's also been referred to as grave robbing, and deleting Jenny's original channel descriptions and then rebranding of a space built on her terminal illness to fund a new wedding is viewed as dark and toxic. Before I go on, I just want to kind of see what everyone is saying here. So someone commented, that Britt has used Jenny's Apple name to replace her. And I want to explain what that is because I did see that too, and other people have commented on this as well. So on Britt's personal Instagram page, her name now is listed, I believe, as Britton Apple, the way that Jenny listed her name as Jenny Apple on her YouTube account before Kyle changed the name to The Apples. And I'm not sure if you guys were aware of that. I'm not sure if most people were aware of that. Someone said, "I feel so sad for the kids more than anything. They are going to be ripped away from Jenny's amazing family, and Britt does not love them. They need their loving mommy back." I think that the saddest part for me of this whole story, and I think that you guys all probably agree, outside of Jenny not being here for her kids, is the impact on Jenny's family. And it really does make me sad. And I know it makes you sad because who should ever have to lose a child or a sibling and then lose their children and lose and Jenny's children, why should they ever have to lose access to their mom's family when their mom is gone? It is terribly tragic. It makes me incredibly sad. So I'll go ahead and continue on with some of the comments that we're seeing here, or the themes of the comments. Another thing is the theme of financial ethics and monetization. So there's a high volume of complaints regarding the use of cancer money, donations, GoFundMe, and channel revenue to support the new lifestyle in Arizona and the wedding itself. Followers believe funds meant for Jenny's kids or cancer support are being diverted to a new blended family. Is that the way you guys feel as well? Do you guys feel like all these funds that he's generated, whether it's from GoFundMe or from YouTube or from PayPal or other personal donations, do you feel like this is supporting his new family? I see a comment here. The kids are being forced into trading their family for another. Yeah, they are having to enter into a completely new dynamic, when they were so used to just having their mom and dad, and then all of a sudden their mother was gone, and they lost that incredibly important link, and then it was just them and their father, and then now they're gonna have 2 new stepsister, stepbrother, and a new mother figure, and I'm sure that along with them having to move, along with them losing easy access to Jenny's parents, those are all significant life stressors. And I really do hope that they can be engaged in counseling and some additional supports because I really do genuinely feel like they're going to need that in this case. So we're seeing some heartbreaking and some no doubt comments about the money being repurposed for his new lifestyle. Okay, there's a question coming in. So is she still in Arizona and he is still in California? How is this whole thing going to work? This whole thing is just adding up to be a huge incoming disaster. As far as I know, she is still in Arizona and he is still in California. There's been no information to suggest that he's already made a move up there. I believe that his children's schools should still be in session probably until late May, because that's usually the case, although I haven't looked into the specific end of date. So, and I'm not sure. I know that he'll be doing some additional educational work over the summer, but I don't know. He hasn't confirmed if that's going to take place in California or Arizona. So we actually don't know about that specifically. We don't know when he will move. I think we can just assume that he will be moving. Another question, I believe that also, or a point, it says also if he sells his house, that money will be used for the blended family. Hopefully, he sets aside some for the sake of his children. I The home, as far as I know, is in a trust. And I want to get into the legality in a separate video that surrounds a new marriage and the legal options that Jenny's family has, because they do have legal options still, and just some more of the legal questions in a future video. One thing I can tell you that I did read recently is that in Arizona, which I presume they'll be moving to because Britt does have children with another man with whom she shares custody. So she'll need to remain in that state for those custody purposes. But in that state, my understanding is if something were to happen to Kyle, whether he, no one would ever want this for him, but whether he would pass if he passed away or if he was to be incarcerated or something would happen to where he couldn't parent his children, she does not automatically get rights to the children like in some other states. She would have to go through an adoption process. So I wanted to share that with you guys. I thought that you would find that information helpful and important to know. Um, I don't know what the trust says. I haven't been able to find the trust documents. And I haven't been able to find any information as to whether the home is for sale or for rent. I haven't seen any of that, although I think that's something that, I could look for. I haven't looked in like the last week or so, but I didn't see anything. Any word from Jenny's family? I did want to let you guys know that at least one, if not more, of Jenny's family members are on the live this evening, and they did join our last live. And I'm so grateful for them. I'm so grateful to have that connection with Jenny's family. They've been incredibly gracious in sharing what they can and incredibly kind, incredibly approachable. And I'm so glad that they are here and they do support our work on this channel. And so for that, I am very, very grateful. And so I try to also keep that in mind as we're having this discussion, because they are in grief still and they are going through a lot with what's happening with Jenny's children right now and the potential for a move to Arizona. I want to thank Golden Pink Beads for your kind and generous donation. Thank you for exposing them. We love you. Does anyone know why Britt I see what you did there, but I'm just gonna be careful not to read it because I don't want to get blocked or anything. Isn't moving to where Kyle is, and why is he the one moving? So Britt does have two children that she shares in a previous marriage. And because of that reason, she has to remain in the state, as far as I understand, so that they can co-parent and have access to, both have their access to the children. Um, and so that, puts him in the position where he would have to move. So that's, to my understanding, why she's not able to relocate. I wanted to read a couple comments. So Jenny's family, we still think of you and support you guys. Prayers as always. Hi family, I am so sorry that you are going through this. I understand that you want to stay anonymous. Yes. Jenny's brother must be so hurt too. I'm sure that he is really hurt. Um, love to Jenny's beautiful family. Hi to Jenny's family. We're so sorry, family. Jenny was an incredible woman. She was an incredible woman. Um, let's see here. Hello to Jenny's family. Love to Jenny's family. We love you all. Has any life insurance monies been paid? I don't have any information about life insurance related to this case. I know generally that um, she probably would have had to apply for life insurance before being diagnosed, and I'm not sure if that was done, or I really can't speculate about that. I don't have any information about life insurance. Dear Jenny's family, I have a daughter and grandchildren. I can't imagine what you're going through. Thank you for that. Instant tears when you said some of Jenny's family members are in the chat. Yes. Sending so much love to beautiful Jenny's family. Thank you guys. Thank you so much for sharing all your love. I'm sure it's really appreciated, and I'm sure it really warms their heart as they go through this. Okay. Thank you, Shauna, for joining. Be safe on your flight. If you guys can give me just 1 second, I just need to put out my dog real quick. Sorry, I apologize. Or my husband's going to put him out. Okay. Okay, so I kind of wanted to go back to some of the comments. I'm going to read some comments specifically that I saw here on the different platforms, and you guys can let me know what you're thinking if you share in the same sentiment. And the first one comes from Reddit, and it says, Kyle is an endless parade of red flags. The same love story being played out a second time shows it's not about the person. It is his desire to find love and cling to it. And I know, I think that kind of touches on what you guys were mentioning earlier, that he just loves to be in love. And of course, this is all speculation. I mean, we don't know Kyle. We're not in his brain, but these are real world comments, real comments that people are writing. And so I wanted to see how you guys feel. So someone here says maybe. Okay. Another comment from YouTube. Here's the quote. Anyone that has followed this channel knows what Jenny went through. We watched you, Kyle, never leave her side. We watched you grieving and sobbing. Now it's like she never existed. My heart breaks for Jenny's memory. Yeah, that really touches the heart of it all. It leaves people, when her page is being taken over and it's being made into a relationship, a lifestyle vlog, if you will. It just leaves you feeling like, where is Jenny? And it's just very tragic. Sometimes it just leaves me speechless thinking about it. There's a question, can Jenny's family sue Kyle? I don't know about that specifically. I know that they do have legal options as it relates to custody. Sorry, that's my husky dog again. But as it relates to custody, I know that there are options available to them that I will be covering in my next live stream. And I believe there's also legal options as it relates to protecting them from being shown on YouTube. That is available to their disposal. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that there is a legal option that would force or compel Kyle to have to put aside a specific amount of money where their image was used in videos. So just stay with me for those, because I think that's going to be a really important and interesting presentation and conversation about the legality and the legal options that do exist for the family, for Jenny's family. You have a husky too. They are very talkative in the morning. Oh my gosh, yes, they are. I wasn't used to that at first. And I was like, what the heck is going on? But then it is really nice. But sometimes they get an attitude problem. Okay. Another comment, it's all about him. Look at the way he doesn't even care what his children need. If he wants love, that's what he'll get. Another commenter, Jenny's warmth and kindness will forever be an inspiration to me. She was truly one of a kind. Thank you for that. That is really beautiful sentiment. Another comment, Kyle leaned on us big time and it feels like he threw us out in the bathwater because of her. That is a true statement that I have seen over and over and over again. The feeling that we as supporters, after everything that has been given, have just been discarded when it came that our feelings were contrary to the life that he wanted to lead. And remember, everything that he shows is his choice to show. No one's forcing him to go onto YouTube or any other platforms to share his life. And no one says, you need to share this, you need to share this, you need to share this. But if so many, and if the majority of people are saying, I don't want to hear about this person, I don't want to see this person, I don't want this person in Jenny's sacred space, then you need to have enough respect, in my personal opinion, it's just my opinion, that you would say to them, I hear you, I see you, and out of respect for everything that you've been to me and to my late wife and our children, I'm going to move this content on a different page. Okay, just one second, because I just wanted to read something. So Arizona schools, okay, so this is something that was shared by a family member to me right now through the email. Arizona schools are ranked 50th in the US, far below California. The kids right now are in a very good district, and moving them will harm their futures. Thank you for sharing that. Early education is so important to children's future. There's an organization in California called First Five that focuses on the first 5 years, but that early education, and both of the kids are young, it's so critical for them as they grow. It's really sad to see that they would leave such a great educational system to have to move into the worst educational system possible. Someone says here, the rage against them is increasing and they thought it would go away. That's correct. It is still continuing. I honestly fear for how folks may really lose it once she's actually on the page, and I suspect that she will be, because people have already been over the top, openly hostile up to this point. So I can't even imagine how bad it could potentially get. And this is very serious. And it's just, it's like the easiest solution page. Like, he can make money off of off of the other page. If it's monetized, he can make money. He can build it up. He can let new folks come and support him there. He doesn't have to use Jenny's core subscriber base. It is a choice that he's doing. Another comment about Jenny, she is definitely a sparkle and a twinkle in the sky. She has left such a legacy, with or without using her channel. It was terrible, as mentioned, so much about him using her channel. Thank you for that. Another direct quote from Tattle Life, quote, he is robbing her channel from her grave. Next level toxicity. So what you guys were talking about how bad it's getting, and we're in something called moderation fatigue right now. Analysts note that the ratio of deleted to visible comments on YouTube is at an all-time high, suggesting a PR crisis mode is in effect. And there is a specific fear among long-term followers that the fiance, or I keep calling her the fiance because it's actually hard to believe that they actually got married, but his new wife is being positioned to take over the channel and become the new Jenny, which actually makes me sick to read that. But that is what people are feeling. And that is the most frequent trigger for the unsubscribe actions based upon my research at this time. So the reaction has been really bad. As you know, as I'm sure that you know in reading, and I'm sure that you all have been reading the comments as well, and just a lot of backlash. Let's read a couple. Let's read some more comments here before we move on to the next subject. I guess the kids' diet will be changing too. I think that's a fair assumption to make, just based on the fact that they're merging families. They'll have 4 kids. Britt's family is not vegan. I believe her family, some of her family members are even hunters, which I know would be appalling to Jenny to know, just based on what I understand and what we understand about how important the vegan lifestyle was to her identity. Um, I'm concerned about the high heat during the day in Arizona. I had a family and have friends who own Arizona property. Yes, I've seen that multiple times in the comments. In fact, I think I read yesterday that someone said that it's practically unbearable to be outside like 9 months out of the entire year. And that's sad because I know the kids are like, they're used to being outside and they play outside and they have their sports teams and things. So I don't know if they have like indoors. I imagine they probably have indoor sports options, although I'm not sure. But just, going to such an unbearably hot location and having to live there, it has to be really uncomfortable for them. Here's another commenter. I was a massive fan of Lovely Jenny, and I have unsubscribed to her channel now as Kyle's exploiting it for his own gains. So sad as it was for the children, but now the money um, is. I'm not sure what the last part said, but she's definitely going to take over Jenny's YouTube channel, especially now that they're married. It's just I the backlash, if and when that happens, I'm just like I said, I expect it to be just really, really high. It seems to me that Kyle will do whatever Britt says, period. Yeah. So there's just a lot going on with the story, and the ones who really stand to be impacted are the children, and I think that remains our core concern as a community is the well-being of the children. So I wanted to go over a little bit of the psychology element of this story because I think it's important to kind of understand what might be the root of what's going on here. And looking also at the timeline, at the rush, because I think that's a big criticism amongst folks is why so quick? Why the rush? Such a rush to get married, why not date for a while? And so I did some research related to the timeline. So we'll talk about that now. So the timeline became a point of contention when investigators in what's considered the snark communities, which is Reddit and others, noted that Britt had been a follower of Jenny's years prior. And we talked about this briefly in the last video. And I just wanted to clarify what I understand to be the facts. So Kyle did mention in one of his previous and now deleted YouTube videos, which somebody recorded or saved because they do have uploaded a portion of that video to Reddit where you can see it for yourself. And he actually does say on that video that they met on Instagram. Okay. And I believe he stated that they met in September, this last September that just passed. So, however, there is evidence that they have presented on Reddit of the screenshots where Britt actually commented on Jenny's personal Instagram years prior about her hair and other things. And so it seems obvious to me that there's some kind of disconnect in that timeline. And that's been one of the things that people have continuously asked for Kyle to clarify, and hasn't clarified. He has not addressed that timeline discrepancy. And he hasn't addressed, hey, look, did you meet her on Instagram, or was she a follower and you started talking to her at some point, and when? And he hasn't clarified that. So, let me just see if there's any comments about that. Thank you for such a smart podcast. I appreciate your emotional balance. You seem like a genuine person, which is refreshing. Keep up the good work. Thank you so much. That really means a lot to me. I really appreciate that. Let's see here. I feel sorry for the kids. Thanks for the information. To Jenny's family, she was a very loving and sensitive person. You were so lucky to have her for the time that she has here. One thing that I want to mention that's really important from the family is that the idea that Jenny was so much more than her cancer. And that's really important to remember. She had interests. She was a whole person. She was a daughter and she was a mother, and she had things that mattered to her. And I think, unfortunately, we focus most on her cancer journey, of course, because that is what was kind of central to the last part of her life and kind of what exploded her out into the scenes for her subscribers. But before that, she joined YouTube at the guidance of one of her family members that I'm in contact with. And, she was putting out videos where she was trying maternity clothes on and doing pregnancy fashion and showing her vegan cooking. And those were really nice. So I encourage you, if you'd like to go back and look into those, to see her before she became ill. And, they would take family trips and do fun things, with the kids and stuff. And it just, it's nice to look back, before she became ill, and just to remember that, she is a person outside of her diagnosis, and a person of which was highly valuable to her family and friends. Someone asking if Britt was a follower of Jenny's. Yes, we can confirm that she was a follower of Jenny's. It is my understanding that she followed her on YouTube and Instagram. I don't know and I believe she followed Kyle on Instagram, and I'm not sure what other accounts she may have followed her, but we can confirm that she, in fact, was a follower. I did also see a screenshot not that long ago, actually, that Britt shared on her personal Instagram, where Kyle had reached out to her. And I didn't see the date, so I apologize because I know that's important information. But Kyle had reached out to her in an Instagram message saying, "Oh, something to the effect of, I'd like to know what the best way is to cut my daughter's hair." And because of her experience cutting hair, and she shared that. And she shared that. It was interesting because that was sent to her before the September date he said he met her on Instagram. I do believe that part is true. So she knew that he had previously stated that he met her on Instagram in September, and yet she still shared a picture where he was communicating with her before September. Yeah. So, yeah. What's been kind of refreshing, though, I did wanna say, in the comments recently that I've received on my page, is I'm actually starting to receive several comments from people that are saying, "I wanna apologize to you. I judged you wrong. I thought you were just out, to be mean to Kyle, but indeed, you're just trying to show us, the facts as best as we can understand them, and the picture from comments and how people are feeling and how things are unfolding. And I want to apologize to you because it does, in fact, seem like I misjudged who Kyle was." So I think people's eyes are starting to become opened to some unfortunate things about Kyle and how he's kind of operated. And education is so important so we can avoid, being mistreated or find ourselves hurt, by other people that we follow in the future. And truly, I'm not against Kyle. Like, I do want the best for him. I because it mostly because it affects his children. It'd be different if he was a single person and didn't have the responsibility of children, but when you have children, as you know, I'm sure many of you are children, you have to put their needs first, and if that means that you're not in a relationship for a while or that you have to marry someone who's close because you don't wanna take them away from Jenny's family, then you do what you have to do. The nature of being a good parent is sacrifice, period. You have to sacrifice for your children. Um, and they deserve that, especially when they don't have the other parent. Someone said, "I'll be honest, I never watched Jenny sick since she passed. I do look at her videos of her being happy, loved seeing her excited about having her babies. That's really nice." And there was so much joy of that, and you could tell like she was so happy when she was pregnant. I could tell from the videos and things, and that's so nice. That's really nice to see. Um, And then someone said, "I bet Jenny's folks don't like what's going on. Do they see the grandchildren much? What about Jenny's sister? She was close to her niece and nephew." So, what I can share without going into too much is that I was advised that they mostly see them as babysitting needs present themselves from Kyle. So, as he needs a babysitter, then they see the children. But I don't have much more detail to share about that other than that. Um, okay. So, going back to kind of this timeline. So, the announcement of the engagement in January 2026 and subsequent wedding plans roughly 2 years after Jenny's death was viewed by many as rushed, especially given the public nature of the preceding 10 years of Kyle and Jenny's relationship. Critical commenters point to Britain's history as a viewer and her own marital status at the time of their meeting as evidence of methodical approach, although these remain allegations within the digital commentary sphere. So, what we can confirm is that when Kyle asked Britt to marry him and she agreed, she was still legally married. And there has been a lot of comments about that. She was not legally divorced until January, is my understanding. And so they did get engaged prior to that. So they were engaged while she was still legally married. Okay, so going into kind of the clinical perspective like if you were to imagine that you were a marriage and family therapist, like a counselor, then you might look at this, what's happening from that sphere, from those kind of glasses and that worldview. Okay, so applying that approach to this situation, there's a little bit of information I wanted to share from you and kind of hear your thoughts upon. So this one is related to attachment replacement. So after a decade of soulmate dynamic, the surviving spouse, which would be Kyle, may suffer from an annihilation of identity. And Kyle's own words were that, quote, "I don't feel whole unless I'm with a woman," suggesting an anxious attachment style where the presence of a partner is a mechanical necessity for emotional regulation. And then grief avoidance. Marrying quickly can be a subconscious defense mechanism to overwrite the pain of the past with a new high dopamine honeymoon phase. By focusing on a new wedding and a move to Arizona, Kyle kind of would be creating a geographic cure for internal trauma. And I'm wondering what you guys think about those two elements from psychology. Hello, everyone who's joining, Mama Bear and Angel of Mine. Thank you for being here. I appreciate you guys being here. We were just starting to go through some of the psychology and the timeline of this relationship and why the marriage appears to be rushed. And is there a psychology basis for that? Someone said Britt told Kyle where the proposal should look like, or what the proposal should look like and when, and he did it. Um, and then someone said that they both lied. Kyle said she was divorced when they met, clarifying that. So because she was not, she was still legally married. Someone else said, I just can't understand why Kyle would choose a woman so completely opposite of Jenny. And that's been a lot in the comments as well. Agreed with all of the psychological thoughts. Thank you for that. Someone else said those poor babies, Jenny's babies and pets. I wouldn't be surprised if she verbally abused them in private, but maybe that's going too far. Sorry. Yeah, we just want to be careful about. I just Personal attacks, I try to be careful. I don't wanna be that person. It's hard sometimes, our emotions get the best of us, but, we don't want to personally attack anyone, and also we wanna be careful about, not, we wanna be careful that the information that we present is factual and not accusatory, and just be very careful with disclaimer, and, we wanna be able to keep this place a safe place. We wanna be able to still remain on here and just be careful. Um, and then someone going back to the psychology said, I think that makes a lot of sense with how he's acting. Another one said, Britt will never come close to being like Jenny. Jenny had class. Um, and then I definitely agree on the attachment. Another question, did Britt have to take parenting classes? I've seen other people ask that question as well or discuss it in the comments. And the reason why I haven't brought it up is because I haven't been able to verify the accuracy of whether or not she had to take parenting classes. So I actually I don't feel comfortable speaking about it unless I can see the evidence that she actually did. And I haven't seen any court records or anything to that. But please do feel free to discuss that in the comments. Perhaps someone on here has seen something. I'm not sure, but I haven't been able to see that myself yet. Again, it goes back to he loves to be in love. Choosing opposite would allow him to cement the escape, so he doesn't have to sit in reminders of his grief. Someone says, "What does she do for work?" I believe that she works at a like a beauty thing where they do like skincare treatments. Sorry, I don't have the exact terminology, but she does work something like that. Okay, going back to the psychology, the children's equilibrium, and I think this will be interesting to you. Clinically, the most significant concern is for the children. A rapid introduction of a replacement parental figure can lead to disenfranchised grief, where the children feel they must suppress their sadness for their mother to accommodate their father's new happiness. And that I do have a concern for. Um, It's not healthy to suppress, as you know, like, how you feel, especially as a child. So I think that's a legitimate concern in this case. So I wanna kinda go over a couple implications of a quick marriage amid hostility, okay? Because as we know, there is a very hostile online atmosphere, that, well, one could argue that he created by deciding to post this information. Um, on what some of those implications of this quick marriage amid hostility might be. So for Kyle and Britton, a quick marriage in this environment will create a us versus the world siege mentality. So they'll kind of come together and say, everyone's against us, and all we have is each other type of narrative, and that hostility will drive them to isolate from the original Apple community. I'm already starting to feel that. I don't know if you guys are starting to feel that, but it's to me, it seems obvious in the comments that, he's becoming dismissive of the folks who have originally been here, which is all of us and most of us on here, I'm sure. And so being dismissive to that community. And then which further alienates the long-term fans who feel they own a piece of the story. And then also the pressure on the new marriage, and I told my husband this too. I was like, "Man, like, I can't." Because the day that I found out that on Sunday that they had gotten married, I was like, "Oh my gosh, imagine getting married and, like, your first week, you guys have to watch videos about people scrutinizing your marriage." Like, that's the worst case scenario, and you know that they're gonna watch this, like, most likely, and so I'm thinking to myself, "That must be, like, completely unhealthy." Like, you over the moon, you should be excited about your future, you shouldn't be sitting there, like, biting nails and like, "Oh gosh, what are people saying?" You know? And I just, I can't imagine, like, is that the honeymoon, like, that any woman or man wants, where you just sit up and read comments together about how you guys shouldn't be together and got married too quickly and you're making a bad decision? Like, that's actually pretty crazy if you think about it. Someone said if they were human, they would get off Jenny's channel. And another person, yes, he is so arrogant. It's a cult of two. And then what a way to begin your new life together. Yeah, I know I had an unhealthy thought that she was a gold digger. Um, he is very dismissive. Yeah. So that can't be healthy. I mean, that just cannot be healthy. And it cannot be healthy also for Brit to, look at comments and see herself being, constantly compared to Jenny or any other woman. That's not healthy. Like, that's not desirable. Like, when you think about getting married to someone and feeling like space as their late spouse, like, that can't feel good. Has Kyle introduced Brett to Jenny's family? That is a good question. I want to say that when it was Ellis's birthday, I want to say that she was present because I remember that Kyle made a big deal about how she drove down and joined them for dinner. But I would have to rely on you guys to confirm that if you remember seeing that in the video that they had dinner together and that she was present and that his family was present, and then they went bowling together. If I'm not mistaken, I believe someone from Jen's family was there, but I can't recall who was there at that time. Someone says they are laughing about the comments. This is about money. They think they are famous influencers. Another person, I don't think this is ever what Jenny would have expected from Kyle. Certainly agree with you. I don't think that, she wanted Kyle to be respected and appreciated and everything. And I think most people, when they look back, just based on what I've seen in the comments, I think most people still think that he was a good husband to her during her cancer journey. I think some people are starting to feel like they're seeing red flags from that period of time. But I do think most people, value that he was there for her during that time period. And I do have a comment um, that I will get to from the family in relation to the way Kyle treated her during her cancer journey, and I think that's important to share with you. So I'll share that with you when I go over at the end when I go over some of the things that have been shared with me from the family. Thank you so much to Marjorie for your donation for my work. I really appreciate it. Thank you guys. And I'm going to read your comment here. Please be cautious in judgment about timing. My father remarried 9 months after my brother, and mother died in a car accident. I was 3. My sister was 8. Grief is complex, no perfect answer. And I really do think that's fair too. I do think that's fair. But I think the situation is so complicated too. I don't think it's just simply timing. It's being on her legacy page. It's moving the kids away from the family. It's so much more, and I think that all just makes it so much harder. Let's see. So someone's asking, so is this Brit's second marriage? Yes, this is both of their second marriages. Um, it's another person saying it's about the children. They are always the victims with no real choice. Kyle's going to do what Kyle wants to do. It is about the children, and I think that's why it's so important that that I do try to present like what the legal options are. I'm not a lawyer, guys. I just do research, and it's not always the best research, but it's what I do to try to bring out the information and just try to be helpful in my small way. So if we can share that information, perhaps that could be something that would be helpful to them. Um So someone's saying, "How many times do people pass away and the other person gets remarried? This isn't anything out of the ordinary, and as long as the kids are happy, that's all that matters." And that's a fair point too. Um, and again, going back to the kids' emotion and that being central to everything. Okay, what is Shauna saying? I just got back to the hospital. Do not drink and drive. I just got done rendering aid to a 5-year-old and a stepmom. In my opinion, Brit's drinking, I couldn't see the last word you said, is bad. It's very, I'm not sure what the last word is you said. Yeah. Drinking and driving is very serious, and it takes so many people's lives every year. It's terrible, and it's terrible because it's completely avoidable. It's really sad. Um Someone saying, I get moving on after the death of a spouse, but not starting a relationship with a married woman. Yes. These issues are multi-layered and will affect the children in the future. Um, Another comment, I did not see red flags from Kyle at first. At the end of Jenny's journey, I did see a couple, but he was in shock and grief. I am glad Jenny had his help with everything at the time. And then someone said on her deathbed, she said, don't be mad at Kyle for moving on, not earlier in the cancer. That is a very contentious issue. What Jenny stated when she was, I believe it was a week before her passing away, when she was medicated, heavily medicated, and in a very, very vulnerable state, what she said and her being presented on camera is a very big debate in the community, of which I want to make a separate video on that and be very careful about how that's presented, because it, to me personally, was extremely disturbing, and I personally felt like she should have never ever been filmed in that state. And there may be some legal options associated with that video, if I'm not mistaken, even including it being forced to have to be taken down. So again, I want to cover that under the legal, because me personally, and please let me know how you feel in the comments. Would you like to see that video removed from social media? Someone saying, Jenny said, Kyle is afraid you all will be mad at him. Don't be mad. Yes. She did state that. Someone says, yes, it was disturbing, sad. Agreed. Someone said agreed. Yes. Remove the video. Someone saying no. Someone saying, so will Kyle be moving? Yes. It looks like Kyle will be moving to Arizona, but we are not sure when. Another person says, yes, have it removed. Another person, I agree, wifey, she should not have been on camera at that point. Someone saying, I don't know, I would have to watch it again. Someone else saying, Kyle had a short 2-year job as a caretaker with trips and no financial worries. Her dad and Mel and Ashley helped a lot. It's what many do. He didn't run off. Doesn't make him a hero. I have to agree with that. I think this idea lately, just in general, not even necessarily about this case, but that people are somehow heroes for just showing up and doing the right thing. I don't think that's a healthy thing that we should embrace in society. I think that when you're a wife or when you're a husband, you should do wife and husband things. You should be committed. You should take vows seriously. You should be there. And so I do have to agree with that. Another person said that video must be removed. It's not right that she was on serious meds. Another person, I have been struggling with judging. I feel so bad that I am, but I truly see through this Kyle, and I think he's an awful man. How was he even thinking that far ahead before Jenny had even passed away? I agree. Like, I have to be honest. Like, I would be absolutely devastated, as I'm sure you would be, if you lost your spouse or your spouse was passing away and like the furthest thing from your mind, I would be physically sick to think about moving on. I would be physically sick to think about having to be with someone else because that it just I'd have so much regret that my husband wouldn't be able to finish life on off with me for as long as possible. I don't understand how anyone in their right mind could think about a relationship when their wife was actively passing away in front of them. That is actually heartbreaking to me. Oh, Shauna says, I meant to say her alleged drinking problem is crucial. When we landed, went into trauma, you know, you don't know if this precious boy will make it. Yes, her dying videos should be removed. It's so sad. It's so sad when people get behind the wheel and drink and ruin the trajectory of people's lives because it's not just a person, although that's horrific in and of itself when a child nonetheless it passes away, but you know, they have loved ones and drinking and driving affects so many people's lives. Someone saying, I can't even believe they discussed it on her deathbed. Everyone, and then another person, as he was, everyone told him time over time to stop sharing videos of himself crying. Yes. Another person, that video is very sad, and I thought it strange to announce to not be mad at Kyle in her deathbed. A lot of comments of that, a lot of comments. I think that that video in and of itself deserves like one live just to talk about. I will not be showing anything from the video. I don't feel comfortable with that because, like I said, I don't believe it should still be up, me personally. But there is a lot to discuss about that video, and so I think we should have a additional conversation about that. But let's go ahead and finish up on the psychology of it because there's just a tad bit more that I think should be covered that sounds familiar to me in this case. Like it kind of looks like you can connect the dots there. But again, disclaimer, I'm not a psychologist. I don't have a psychology background, but just through some basic research, I was able to find some information that might or might not apply and just putting it out there to kind of see how you feel. This one is with attachment replacement. So in clinical practice, attachment replacement refers to the rapid transition from one primary attachment figure to another following a significant loss or separation. This is often observed in the context of bereavement. And when a primary attachment is severed, the individual experiences profound psychological distress. The brain's limbic system may attempt to mitigate this attachment pain by seeking a new figure to fulfill the emotional and functional roles of the previous partner. And I don't know if you guys think that that sounds like it might apply here. Let me know in the comments if you feel like, you know, that is something that might apply. And there's another thing here. Seeking a new partner quickly is often an attempt to regulate a nervous system overwhelmed by loss. So, very interesting things. Like I said, this is not just a simple discussion about moving on. I mean, there's a lot of critics that will say, well, why have a life? Like, even before I got on today, I saw that comment and I just kind of like shook my head because I was thinking, I was like, I, like everyone needs an advocate, and you guys are advocates for Jenny and you're advocates for her family, and I'm just providing this humble little forum. We don't have many, but I feel like everyone is mighty and everyone's opinions matter. And you know if something happened to me, I would be happy to have someone. I would be so grateful to have someone to just bring a voice to everything. And that's what you guys are. You're a collective voice for Jenny, and I think that's beautiful. And if other people don't see the value in that, that's okay. But there's definitely valuable, and you should know that your contributions to this discussion, they do matter and they're important. And I think that if more people in this world looked at themselves as having the power to change, I think that we would be better off as human beings. So, and our human race. So there's also something known as the geographic cure. Now, the geographic cure is a psychological phenomenon where an individual moves to a new location with the hope that a change in environment will resolve internal emotional conflicts or reset traumatic experiences. So apparently, it's not just having someone fulfill a role that they did before, but also moving away to kind of get away from the physical trauma of the space and going into a new place is helpful for people. So, fresh start, removing trauma triggers such as a location associated with medical distress can lower cortisol and allow the nervous system to exit a chronic fight or flight state. So, looking at this case specifically, you know, with the associations of with his with his current environment in California, that would be illness and caregiving and terminality. But then in a new environment in Arizona, it would be a new marriage, a rebranding, and a blank slate. And then the psychological state, it's a high constant reminders. But then in Arizona, there's a low trigger environment and potential for narrative drift. But the long-term risk, so for him to stay in California would be stagnation, potential stagnation in the grief phase. But then leaving to Arizona, there would be trauma that could resurface once the novelty fades. So, what do you guys all kind of think about the whole psychology of this in terms of, do you think that he wants to move to Arizona potentially to kind of get away from the trauma associated with the home that he's been living in? Or do you think that, he doesn't have, potentially doesn't have that trauma because he's fixed up his place and, or has, accepted that, you know, that he's okay with that? Let's see here. It could be a trigger too. Please hit the thumbs up, guys. Yes, if you guys would please hit the thumbs up on this video, and when it goes live, if you would share it, that would be awesome. I think it's important that we continue to try to get the truth out about this. And so I certainly appreciate any and all the support that you would like to provide to this as we bring this collective voice together on this issue. Someone saying no, I think he's just going to do anything that Brett says to do. So one thing I want to talk about as we talk about psychology too is, for children involved in these transitions, this represents a double relocation. They are simultaneously processing the loss of a primary attachment and the loss of their familiar physical community. And what's sad about that, if you recall, well, as you know, is that all of their memories with their mom, were in the home that they currently live in. So if you think about it, taking them, they've already lost their mom, so now taking them out of that space is kinda like, once again, kind of stripping that connection to them, to their home, and then also at the same time, the connection to Jen's family. So I cannot even imagine the incredible stress and sadness that they will have to experience for having to deal with this all simultaneously. Um, so some comments. I just see a lot of sadness from the babies in the rock garden. Another comment, Kyle never expressed trauma by staying in the house. He's moving for Britain. I think you are right about that. I can't recall him, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I cannot recall him offhand without looking into it, making any comments about being traumatized to have to be in the same space where his wife passed away. And I think that's a good point because he did do a lot of open videos about grief, and it seems reasonable to believe that if that was something that was really bothering him, that he would probably speak about that. Um, so I have a comment here. I myself am a cancer survivor twice over. That's amazing. I'm so glad for you. That's just tremendous. It broke my heart to hear she was terminal, and this is like a slap in the face. It's very personal. It's very personal for a lot of people. And then another comment, pray that the children never forget their mom. And another comment, um, the kids will lose everything they know, and that includes part of Kyle. That's a good point too, that we don't often think about because it's like leaving behind who he was as a single parent to them for the last couple of years and transitioning into a new role, they kind of lose that too. Um, are the kids in I have no information about them being in counseling, and so I am not sure if they are. They certainly would, I think, benefit from being in counseling. Guys, just give me 1 second. I need to look at something just real quick here. Yes, just to clarify that, Jenny, she did the video that she made that's labeled "I'm dying," and that's the video that we were talking about her, um, giving kind of her last wishes, if you will, while heavily medicated, or things that were saying that things were important to her. That was made in the hospital. And then, she actually did not pass away at the hospital. She did pass away at home, in the home that, Kyle and the children are currently living in. I remember that. So I just wanna clarify if there was any confusion about that. Someone said, "I feel so lucky that I wasn't even younger like Jenny's children. I had my mom for 19 years. I cannot imagine having a stepmother." Yeah. Another question, what about the letters Jenny left for her kids, will he still give them? I sure hope that he still gives them to the kids. I would think that he would give them to her, to the kids. Another comment, he said, "No, they are not in counseling long ago. What's worse is that he said it was their decision as if they would know." Wow, that's absolutely insane to me. That is incredibly insane to me that you would think a kid would know that they or should not be in counseling. That's part of your parental job as a parent to ensure the emotional and mental well-being of your children, and that includes looking for signs that they aren't doing well and just knowing that what kind of transitions they're going through and preparing for that by giving them every single available resource to them that you can possibly give. Oh, wow. That is an incredibly sad story. I'm really sorry. That is incredibly sad. Here, the comment, my daughter lost her mom at 8. Her stepdad killed her. I raised her from then on, but I never asked her to call me mom, and I never let her forget her mom. That is really beautiful that you took upon that responsibility and shared everything about her mom that you could. I'm really sorry that that's incredibly sad. Um, and then someone else saying here, I remember that too about her wanting to stand up one more time when she was in her last days. Yes, yes, I believe Kyle actually held her while she was standing up. He stated. Okay. Um, so I just got some more information from the family right now stating that Kyle may actually want to get away from his coworkers, where he used their vacation time that they donated to him when Jenny's cancer journey was ongoing. And if you don't recall, what they did was they came together and they donated, I believe, in kind hours of their own that they had accrued, so like sick time, vacation time, and they actually gave those to Kyle. They were extremely generous, and of course, naturally, there's probably been a lot of talk at the school. I would assume that's just my assumption. I have no evidence for that, and so the family saying that that is perhaps one of the reasons why they believe that he wants to get away as well, which would make sense. Okay, let's read a couple more comments and then we'll continue on. Sorry if if I'm taking a little too much of the time, guys. I'm just there's a lot of information, and what I might end up doing actually is covering um, some more that I wanted to cover in a next live, just for the sake of out of respect for your time. But there is some important information that I wanted to get to you related to what the family has shared with me. So thank you for being here with me. Thank you for continuing to support this discussion. I appreciate it. I appreciate everyone's comments. Okay, so someone's saying Kyle is not enemy number one, but that's why this is so shocking. Yes, of course. Like, we're not trying to villainize him. I think we're just trying to present the information, and it is quite shocking. I think everything that is coming out. Okay, so this is important, and I want to talk about this. So this is what, if you guys are okay, this is what I'm going to do. The section that I had planned for this evening in relation to how Kyle has used the ask, where he's asked for support through super chats or whatever, as well as the thank yous. That portion, which includes a lot of quantitative data and talks about patterns and talks about specific videos and how the ask was used, etc. I want to hold that one off to another video, because really what I want to talk about, and this is actually really important, is what is going to happen once he posts this wedding video, which I'm confident that he will, and what that will look like, what he might say about that, how that might be presented, and what it means for Jenny's legacy channel. And so I want to get into that because I suspect that he will post that any day. I'm actually shocked that it's not been posted yet. And so I kind of wanted to get my thoughts out about that and hear from you before it's posted so we can see if that kind of lines up. Okay. Um, So another commenter, I have to applaud you. Your delivery of this topic has been very respectful with just the right amount of humor, which is important in life. Thank you. Yes, I love to laugh. Laughing is actually one of my favorite things to do, which is why I used to do some of the comedy skits here on the subject. Because usually when things are stressful, I turn to comedy. So that's why I did some comedy bits. Um, but thank you. And then here's another person. I think it's wonderful that you are here advocating for Jenny's channel and her legacy, a very selfless act that is so supportive from this community. Thank you guys. Thank you guys for being here. Thank you for your support. I really do appreciate everyone. Like I said, it's a small group, but it's mighty, and your voice matters and it makes a difference. Like, I genuinely believe that what you guys have shared with Jenny's family tonight makes a difference. Like, them seeing it and feeling the warmth and feeling the love is important. I mean, I can't imagine, the grief that this brings up with him recently being married. Like, can you imagine like finding that out? And then just the grief and of all the flood of Jenny's loss would come in. And so for you guys to come in at this time and share these words of love and support and encouragement, I have no doubt that that makes a difference in their hearts. And so I want to thank you guys for being here and supporting them. And I do see them as, being victims right now to this. And so it's just a beautiful thing that you guys are here and doing this. So, talking about the video, I do think he's going to post his wedding video. And I want to talk about the likely communication strategy that he will be using to navigate this high conflict transition. Because if we thought it was bad before, like with the proposal, that is going to be nothing. I suspect that there's going to be so much backlash. It will probably be the most backlash thing that we've seen up until now, and probably ever on the channel if he uploads it here. So I think what will happen is and again, forgive me, but I want to be correct as I'm reading you my notes about this, but I think what will happen is he will address the wedding on Jenny's original channel, following a redemption and rebranding arc designed to minimize liability while maximizing the reach of the 200,000 plus subscriber base that he has inherited. My idea, and this is really painful. Like, this is actually really painful to discuss because it's so sad to consider that this new lifestyle vlog is happening in the same space that Jenny suffered and passed away from and documented from and wanted to remain, as this digital legacy for her children and family. So just know that even though I'm presenting this kind of, I'm talking about it in a way, just know that there's so much emotion that comes underneath. And I know that you guys feel that. Of course, you feel that. And of course, no one feels it to the extent that Jenny's own family does. So just know that even though I'm reading it, there's a lot of emotion, obviously, that comes behind it. So I think what will happen is that we can expect a video titled something like Our New Chapter or Answered Prayers. He will likely state that he prayed for guidance and felt Jenny's presence, giving him permission to marry Britain, which makes me infuriated to think about because there is no way, shape, or there's no way that Jenny would, in my opinion, yes, no, I don't know her personally, but I can confidently say that there is no way that she would ever want her children taken away from her family. So why would she ever support a marriage in which that was going to be the ultimate outcome? So let's see what you guys' comments here so far on this are. Instagram already looks pretty rebranded. It does. It does look rebranded because Britt has her name as Britt Apple, and Kyle cannot push us away. Of course, he will post the wedding. It's a big paycheck. I guess that his wedding, and you have to remember that a lot of people watch just for drama. A lot of people watch because of the drama of the story, but it's sad because they're not realizing that these are real people with real pain, behind this story and real lives and real consequences and real stakes. The children have a huge stake in what happens here. And so this is not just drama. These are people's real lives. I suspect that this will probably be amongst his top 5 most monetized videos if he indeed he puts it on here, and he knows that. Like, he has to know that. And again, he's feeding off of all the vitriol and all of the emotion around it. And so he would have to know, having been monetized for so long, that this would lead to a big payment for him. Someone saying not human to have no empathy. Kyle is the robot. Another person, I cannot watch Kyle any longer. I need a yak bag if I do. Um, Another person saying Jenny wants her children in her family's life. And then another person, oh, I'm sure we'll be seeing her on the channel soon. Again, so the purpose, he'll state, is that by invoking Jenny's spiritual blessing, he will attempt to neutralize the betrayal narrative. So it will shift the argument from he moved on too fast to he is following a divine destined path. These are just my personal opinions. They don't reflect, the reality of his intention, or, the reality of what may or may not happen. It's just my opinion as a viewer, just like you guys are a viewer. And I just want to present this to you, what I think he'll probably do. So there'll be a for the kids justification. So the wedding video will likely feature the children heavily, perhaps showing Britt helping them get ready or them walking down the aisle. Um, this will create a shield of innocence. So if commenters attack the wedding, they are positioned as attacking the happiness and stability of 2 motherless children. And who would want to do that, right? So he'll say something to the effect of, the kids need a mom, and Britt has stepped into that role with so much grace. And of course, we'll hear so many things about being perfect. And yeah, it's really sad to think about. Kyle is likely going to address the wedding as a legal and emotional finality, as a way to lock in his new life before the public can stop him. So by the time he posts the wedding video, he will likely have completed the cleansing of the channel and deleting Jenny's descriptions and old links, essentially daring the audience to either follow him into a new era or to leave. And I'm wondering what do you guys think about that? Do you think that this sounds like this could be a likely outcome? If you could just put yes, maybe, or no in the response, just so we can see how you guys are feeling about whether you think that could be a likely outcome. One thing that makes me feel really sick, but I do think is a possibility too, is that like from an investigative standpoint, the rush isn't just about love. It's actually about securing the new brand infrastructure, while the momentum of his previous fame still has financial value. And that's us. Like, that's the core community. Like, while we still have value to him, he's trying to have that continue on. So I'm seeing a lot of yeses. Thank you for sharing. Comment, YouTube has new guidelines about featuring children on posts. He has to pay them. He stated that children didn't want to be filmed anymore, so he is a liar. Yes, I will go over some of those legal things that you're talking about, and procedural things that you're talking about. It's very sad. A few months ago, I would have said no, but the way things are going now, I won't rule anything out. Yes. A lot of yeses. Someone saying, I really enjoy your channel. Good job on lives. Thank you so much. I appreciate you guys being here. Someone saying, I think Jenny's family should actually get the kids. Someone saying, does Arizona even have special needs teachers like California does? Special needs classes are huge here in California. Yes, they are. I would assume that they would have to. It's probably a federal mandate to would have to, accommodate for special needs, because special needs students are everywhere. Um, One day the children will be grown up and find out what their dad was like. And that part is really sad too, because it's again, the idea is, us wanting what's best for the kids. And what's best for them is not to have to find out later the negative parts about their father. But, unfortunately, he's making choices very publicly. And then, of course, naturally, the public will respond. His life is out in the open and, per his wishes for it to be so. And because of that, he's getting a lot of pushback. Um, Someone saying Jenny is her mother, not Brett. Yes. Someone saying the kids are probably confused. Yes. Another person, those kids' lives have already been upended when they lost their mom. He really put no thought into what that may do to them. I pray they go to counseling sooner than later. Yes. Um, So continuing to talk about the rebrand of the page, because I think this part is really important, just so that we could anticipate what we might see and, just be having our eyes open for that. Um, so in the landscape of digital creator economies, a high production wedding video serves as more than just a personal milestone. It functions as a total narrative reset. So for a channel like the Apples, the event provides a unique opportunity to displace historical brand equity and establish a new commercially viable lifestyle trajectory. So again, this is much more than a simple wedding. This is a complete reset. So, from a technical and psychological standpoint, a wedding serves as the ultimate high signal event. It is designed to saturate the viewer's feed and effectively bury previous narratives, specifically Jenny's digital memory. And that's what is so absolutely infuriating about like thinking about this wedding video being posted. It is so appalling for that very reason. And what you guys need to remember is a wedding video is going to garner so many likes. It is going to garner so many comments. It is going to probably be shared a lot. So it is going to generate a lot of resources for him. People will probably tip him through the super likes and super chats. They'll stand up for him in that way, actually by tipping him. And that's what they did when he was facing so much backlash, when he initially came out and saying that he was getting, that he was going to be getting engaged. I might even pull the information for that video just because I think I have it here about the approximate amount that was given during his super chats, because it is a lot of money, you guys. Like, for example, I'm just going to go through a couple of these. I think you guys, this will help you to appreciate how much he was able to earn through super chats on lives such as this. So, for example, when Jenny passed away, okay, the announcement in the video, which was his announcement, he verbally asked for support in the way of saying, "Help us find a new normal and the kids' future." He earned approximately $34,000 on that live. Um, and then at Jenny's memorial service live, okay, his ask density was extreme. He was constantly reading how many donations he was getting and how much they were and stuff like that. And he had earned approximately $12,450 on that live alone. And then we go on to his 6-month update. And then he's using language like the first half of the year has been a struggle financially and emotionally, and he on that live earns $3,800. And then let's fast forward, and then of course I have all the records for all of the videos and how much he approximately earned on super chats because that is public information. So, for example, if somebody wanted to take this video and they wanted to look how much I earned in super chats, it's public and you guys can, and it would be able to be counted. So, this we actually do know is even though it's approximate, it's pretty close because we have that public information. So, on the 1-year anniversary of Jenny's, passing, the ask was something along the lines of honoring Jenny's legacy means keeping our home stable, and he earned $4,850 approximately on that. And then, you're gonna be shocked by this, but when he revealed his relationship in October, and you'll remember that there was a lot of pushback, there was, some support and everything, of course, because, people support him. People still support him now. But anyways, so he reveals his relationship. He did not have a high volume of asks for it ask during that video. He just said, essentially, we're moving forward together. He still, during that video, earned approximately $5,200. Like, this is, I mean, it's a business. It is a business. His YouTube channel is a business. It's you just have to call it what it is. And so in that case, we see something health new happening, and it's known as defensive tipping. So supporters used super thanks specifically to drown out critics of the new relationship. So to say, hey, look, and so if you can imagine then going back to what we're talking about, when he comes out with a video, people are going to flood him with super chats and they're going to be like, use this for your honeymoon, use this to buy whatever you need for the house, use it for this, use it for this. And to think of him using like Jenny's channel, and it is her channel, which was designed for her cancer journey and to be a video diary for her children in the future, to use it as a business to earn money off of a new relationship is absolutely appalling to me personally. And it's just absolutely shocking. So let me read some of the comments. There's a lot of wow, OMGs, wow about the amounts. I don't think that most people knew, even watching them, just the extent of how much support he actually got. Another a nice comment. So much love to Jenny's family, with a heart. As I read the comments, his narcissistic individual um, has caused so much chaos for Jenny's subscribers, his children, Jenny's family, and his coworkers. Kyle is currently getting narcissistic supply. Yes, and I did do a video about there's some key words that have been used in relation to Kyle, and and those words include grifter, dry begging, narcissism, opportunistic, performative, and you guys are free if you're interested to go back to, it's one of my most recent ones, like in the last like maybe 6 or 7 videos I did a kind of like a definition video and how that might apply to him based on comments that I was reading, because I saw those comments over and over again calling him those names and referring to him in those names. Another person saying, let's see here. Someone saying, and he knows it's a business. And then another person saying, is there nothing on YouTube that states money made in her channel has to go to the kids? That is a good question. And again, that's a legal thing that we could look into. What I can confirm, because I read this recently and I know that this was going to make your mouth like hit the floor, is that now that him and Britt are married, should they divorce, she will be, so for example, they make 300 on, I'm just throwing out a number. Okay, let's just say they made $300,000 at the time that they divorced, since the day they got married to the time they divorced. She would be entitled to half of that money. So the problem with that is that if Jenny's videos to me, in my personal opinion, is that if Jenny's videos continue to remain on this channel, which I suspect that they will because they drive a lot of traffic and they continue to generate income for him. They're considered evergreen, meaning they are likely to continue to always generate views and income because of the nature of the videos. Then what will end up happening in effect is that Brit will actually make money off of those videos herself. So there's a lot at stake here. Hi, Australia. Hello for anyone just joining or have joined in recently. Thank you guys all for continuing to be here with me. We will probably be wrapping up soon, but I do have some important information I wanted to continue to cover. Um, and so I hope that you'll stay, but we will be wrapping up here pretty soon. And honestly, I think that we've gone through quite a bit of somber information tonight, and I apologize for the nature of that. Unfortunately, that is the story. That is the reality of what we're dealing with here. And so I did want to apologize for that and conversations, but they are important, and it is important that we understand everything as best as possible and as most accurate as possible about what is going on. Um, but I do want to share some information that was shared with me by a family member of Jenny's before we wrap up. And this is a family member that I am actually very deeply grateful for. So, because it's just kind of a beautiful thing to learn more about Jenny through the eyes of her family and people that knew her best. And so I want to share some information, an email that was shared with me from Jenny's family member. But first, before I go into the email, I actually want to share that I had the pleasure of watching a very beautiful musical tribute video that the family member had produced for Jenny, where they're playing guitar and singing a song. And they made that in honor of Jenny once they found out that her cancer had progressed. And it was beautiful, and, unfortunately, at this time, I can't share it, and I can't direct you to that right now just for privacy, out of respect for privacy, but perhaps in the future. But I did wanna share that. I was, pleased to listen to that, and it made me happy to hear that, and I'm sure it really, was touching to Jenny also to hear that. But I did wanna share something with you also. I got an email, and I've been in communication with, like I said, one of their family members, and there was something that was shared with me that I'd like to share with you, um, and um, that was this. So I'm going to read this quote by quote. This is from the family member, and it says this. What gets lost with all of the YouTube stuff is the non-sick Jenny. I did the sound at their double wedding as I'm a musician. The single biggest memory I have with Jenny is the entire family went to a specific park. Jenny called Kyle her bestie at that time, but she was in a relationship with another guy. So Jenny and that guy both ran a vegan grocery store. Anyway, I told Jenny at the park that I was rooting for Kyle. He followed her around like a puppy dog, and they made Facebook videos together, etc. He had been friend zoned, and I sent a message to Kyle after that park trip and to Kyle to ask him if he had kissed her yet. And apparently it got to Jenny somehow, and she blocked me on Facebook. Maybe he kissed her. Maybe he just told her. I don't know. Later on, the other guy went to Florida with some other girl, and Jenny was not with him. Shortly afterward, she was with Kyle. I felt like, see, I knew what I was doing all along. She wrote me a nice note when she was ill that I believe acknowledged that I was right. Kyle used to play football, but really came across as a gentle. Of all of his faults that are on display, I am thankful that he stayed with her throughout her illness, and she always felt loved by him. That other guy would have never stayed had they ended up long term, as he proved. I thought that was really nice. I thought that was a really nice story, and I when I first read that, I was thinking to myself, "Man, like, that's a wonderful thing that he did," because, kind of not realizing what was ahead and what, this terrible cancer journey would bring, that he helped to kinda set them up, and Kyle ended up being there to support her and through the journey, and so that must feel really good. And I just wanted to say to Jenny's family, there is a lot of hearts coming in right here, right now for you guys. Someone saying here, Jenny, I hope you are able to feel our love from this wonderful group. You will always be at the forefront of our minds. That's really nice. Love to Jenny's family. Thank you, wifey. Hearts for Jenny. Prayers for her family. This must be so hard for them to have to face another loss. Her children now leaving the state. Prayers to Jenny's family. We are here for you. This is beautiful. That was lovely. Yes, please, guys, join me hearts for Jenny and her family. And just lots of love and support coming in for Jenny's family. And that really makes me happy to see. Jenny's family, I was able to confirm that it looks like Jenny's family was not present at the wedding. In fact, her parents were asked to keep the pets, were asked to watch the pets during the time of the wedding. So that is where we're at with that. Some more comments. Love and prayers for Jenny's family. Beautiful. Please remember Jenny healthy. Yes. Let's all remember Jenny before cancer, because she was a beautiful person. And I will be sharing more nice pictures that were shared with me for my next live when we talk about the family rights, the family legal rights. I'm going to share some more pictures that were shared with me in my announcement, and that will be really nice to share. And another comment saying, it was so sad watching her last few weeks and the kids. Winnie will probably only remember her through videos. That's sad to think about. And Jenny's family, I just hope he doesn't stop letting them stay connected. Yeah. So we talked a lot tonight, and I've already held you guys more than 2 hours, so I'm going to let you go. But before I go again, what happened with the pets? So just to clarify, her family was asked to watch the pets during the time of the wedding. And so they did. And I'm sure that was hard for them, and what a kind thing to still do while you're in pain. So, I want to thank everyone again for being here with me and for supporting this channel. There is no pressure, but if you would like to support the work that I've done, the research that I've done, with any amount, there is a super chats option, and I think there's like a heart or something that you might be able to see on your page. You're welcome to do that either now during the live or after the live is posted. I believe that's still an option, and honestly, I'm new on this, so I don't really know, but I want to thank you guys all for your support. It does help. I do spend quite a bit of time looking into research and trying to present this, so I do appreciate anything that you would like to provide. But again, no pressure. This is not about money, and it's not at all. This is about giving a voice to Jenny and supporting her family and helping to raise awareness so everyone can be protected in the future and can feel more comfortable when they're interacting with other social media folks in the future. Thank you guys. Do I have a Cash App? I can post Venmo information when this video goes live. I don't have a Cash App, but I might have another option. But thank you guys. I will post that, and I appreciate all of you guys so much. And so I look forward to coming on live. I kind of like the live format. I know that I can do videos too, but how do before we go, how do you guys feel? Do you guys prefer coming on live with me, or do you prefer the videos that I put out? Just wanted to see as we kind of continue to discuss this story, and then in the future as I kind of branch out a little bit more. So there's a question, real quick before I go. So, you say that you're in touch with a family, even if Kyle moves away, has he let Jenny's family feel like he still wants them in the kids' lives? That is a good question. If Jenny's family is still on with us, I'll stay about a minute more to see if I get any correspondence in relation to that. And if not, if I get it afterwards, I can provide that information in a future video. Seems like you guys like both, and live is good. Either way is good. Maybe go live once a week or so if you can, both live and videos. Live, I like lives. Um, it's great, both work well. Okay, yeah, I like the lives, but I'll watch both. Okay, sounds good. So we'll just see what we continue to do. Um, so I'm thinking about maybe going live again perhaps this weekend. I do really want to get this legal information out for Jenny's family. And yeah, and then we'll see also what else has happened between now and then. But thank you guys all for being here with me again. And I appreciate you very much. And I hope that everyone has a great rest of the week. And I will see you in the comments. And please be safe. And yeah, just thank you all so much. I appreciate you guys. Have a great night. And now I need to call my husband over because I never know how to end the lives, which, wait, I think I see a button. So, anyways, thanks, guys. Have a great night. And I will see you in the comments.